Good evening and welcome to the Taco Society Presents. This is a special episode where we went down to NECON and talked to the authors of the anthology Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep. So please give a listen, enjoy the show, and there'll be an episode 3 following this. Thank you. We're here with Richard Danske. You've been coming here for a long time, right? NECON?
15 years, yeah.
15 years.
Who was not in the room when we did the first interviews, which were the anthology's editors, Trish Kasich and Laura Hickman. And at the end of that interview, Tony put them on the spot and said, could you name one or two? What were your favorite books in this anthology?
Guess who they picked?
And Laura pointed straight to Wishing Won't, your contribution, as the one that jumped out at her. So there's that.
Thank you. That's very flattering.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I write video games by day. I work for Ubisoft. I've been with them for almost 18 years now. And I write stories, character, dialogue, all that sort of aspect of a video game. Worked on titles like The Division, which came out last year. And yeah, that's what I do when I'm not writing fiction.
Now, you've done like all the Tom Clancy games, is that?
I've worked on a fair number of them. I haven't worked on all of them by a long shot. It's a big franchise.
Okay.
In fiction, let's talk about your fiction for a minute. Novels?
7 novels out and a short story collection with NECON ebooks.
Snowbird Gothic, one of them.
Yep.
I'm supposed to love all of our books the same, like they're all babies. That's a lie. All publishers have their favorites. One of my favorites that we've ever put out.
Well, thank you.
Wow,
I've always thought you were one of the best kept secrets in horror because your day job, and you get lots of acclaim as well you should as a video game writer. Your fiction is spectacular.
Well, thank you. That means a lot to hear.
We're going to talk about Now We Lay Me Down to Sleep, and we're going to talk about your story. Well, you're going to talk about your story. Tell us a little bit about it, and then we're going to ask you to read a page from it.
Okay. Well, it's called Wishing Won't, and I wrote it taking the subject matter of the anthology literally. It's written as a bedtime story. It's told about a small boy who finds a wishing well and finds out that whatever is living in the wishing well starts to want to negotiate.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
And
Great
so needless to say, this does not end well.
It doesn't sound like it would. Why don't you read for us?
Okay, I'd be happy to do so. The well came up to Terrence's chest. He could see over the stone at the edge and look down into the well itself. When he did that, he saw nothing except a big dark hole. He leaned over the wall, which seemed sturdy, and shouted down into the well. "Hello," he said. "Is anyone down there?" The well said nothing. Terrence shrugged and went looking for a rock. Because really, what good is a big hole in the ground if you can't drop something into it and hear how far it has to go before it hits bottom? He looked around and he dug in the dirt with his fingers, and finally he found a stone about the size of his fist. Terrence pried the stone out of the dirt and he cleaned it off, because it's important that if you're going to throw a stone in a well that it be clean. And finally he let it go. He never heard it hit bottom. Instead, he heard a voice. The voice said, "Please do not throw rocks at me. I'm trying to sleep." Terrence heard the voice and ran.
I can see why. That's great.
Thank you.
That is great. Yeah, I can't wait to read the rest of that one, too.
And I have to say, I always get this mess up. It's not first person. It's like the tense you used in writing this story. I've seen it done so often, so badly. You did it so well.
Well, thank you.
That is a real craft to be able to tell a story written as someone telling a story, and the form not get in the way of the fiction.
High praise.
And it was beautifully done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations on that, Chief.
Thanks.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Oh, believe me,
Thank
it's
you.
our pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure's mine.
Another Taco Society first timer. Check that off.
You got that?
You got Richard
Yeah, and you're
Danske.
certainly welcome back anytime you want.
Well, thank
might
you.
Travel all the way up to New Hampshire. Well, thank you very much, and we'll be back with our next guest in a few seconds. Hey, our next guest is Trevor Firetog. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Well, great to have you here. You're here to talk a little bit about your story, and Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But first, before we start, just give us a little bit of background on who you are.
Well, my name is Trevor Firetog. I write dark fantasy, horror fiction, mostly short stories. I do have a novella that was published many moons ago, and that's That's basically what I'm up
That's
to
who
these
you
days.
are, huh?
Yeah, that's who I am.
Okay.
Well, per your short bio that you sent us, you're working on your first novel,
I am. I'm hard at work on that.
and this is your third NECON?
This is my fourth.
This is your fourth. I was
Yeah.
going to say a relative newbie still against John McIlvaine, who we just had, who's been to 32,
32, wow.
and stuff. And don't be embarrassed by this. You are ridiculously young.
You got a long way to go.
Yeah. No, I mean you started coming here what 2021?
Yeah, I was just 21.
Just 21. Yeah. So you're. Yes.
He's on his way.
Yes. I'm remembering. Yeah, I was 21 at my first NECON, and wow.
Yeah.
That's so.
Why don't you read us, tell us a little bit about your story, and then read a page from it.
So my story is about two brothers.
And the title?
Oh, I'm sorry. My story is actually called The End of All Stories.
Okay, so we're done after this.
It's about two brothers who share a bunk bed, and late at night they realize that they've never actually heard the ends of the stories that their father tells them before they go to sleep. And the answer isn't because they've just gone to sleep. There's a much deeper answer there. And it came from, I would say I had the title before I had anything else. And then I remember sharing a bunk bed with my brother, and then he was much older, so he thought it'd be fun to mess with me. And then at night, things come alive and shadows take shape to something.
And you got a story out of it.
I do.
Why don't you read us from it?
Now, the story is only about 3 pages, so I'm going to read a very short
Yeah, just a
sample.
page if you would.
Jake reaches up and turns off the lamp on his dresser. Ian always insists on sleeping with the door open a crack, so a little light spills in through the hallway. Outside the streaky window, a full moon hangs in the sky, throwing a pale blue light on everything it touches. The bed springs above creak and groan, and Jake opens his eyes to his brother leaning from the top bunk, upside down, staring at him. If you want me to sleep, I need to hear a bedtime story. Mom tells them good, Dad tells them better, so if you could tell me one, we can see how good you are. And why do I need to be good at telling them? Ian's eyes grew. Fear surfaced in his face and sunk back down. Because if you tell a good story, the wolf won't come tonight.
Good setup. Great setup.
Like,
You write with a very poetic voice.
oh, I appreciate that.
I hope you take that as a compliment, because that's how I intended it.
I fully did. Thank
Good.
you.
Well, thank you very much for contributing, and thank you very much for being on the show.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be back with our next guest in, what, seconds?
5, 4, 3, 2.
1. We're here with John. Say your last name.
Booyah.
Booyah. See, I would have screwed that all up totally.
Well, it's actually Booyah, but I cheered it up a bit.
No, you did a good job. Welcome. Welcome to Taco Society Presents and
Thank you.
NECON Anthology.
Strange to be here.
Oh, sure.
Why?
Yeah.
Last thing I expected to be doing. Getting a
Again,
story published.
why?
So
Yeah.
Wow, you're terrific.
Yeah.
We're
Thank
happy
you.
yourself more.
I,
Tell us a little bit about yourself, John.
well, I'm a tech writer by day, and I hope to stop doing that really soon, like in the next
Really?
couple of weeks if I can,
Oh.
or at least cut back on it so I can start writing more fiction.
Is this retirement you're talking about?
I was going to retire, but the money just didn't work out right.
Uh-huh.
But I found out that I can go part-time. at
Oh,
work.
okay,
So-
great.
And that's something new, so I'm really excited about that idea.
Good for you.
Yeah.
How
So
long?
you-
I'm sorry.
Do you have any projects in particular planned for when you suddenly have this more time to devote to your fiction?
Finished all the stuff I've started.
Okay.
I've got an epic novel that I just finished last year that has now turned into a 4-part series.
Oh, wow. Is this fantasy?
It was supposed to be horror and it turned into fantasy. It
Okay.
just went where it went.
Yeah.
When we were talking to Jim Moore here too, and I mean, didn't Trevor even talk about it? To me, the fantasy, horror, sci-fi, the genres all blur.
Yeah.
And so many of these writers yeah, I write them all at the same time in the same book.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be this really dark thing, and it came out kind of funny. Most of my stuff turns funny. I can't.
Humor
help
creeps
it.
into it and then takes over, yeah.
Yeah, I've got one that I wrote in a weekend that I'm trying to clean up now, about digging up the backyard. It's just called Clay, and it's about 3 months of digging up the backyard and how it snowballed into getting the whole neighborhood involved.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It was fun. Yeah.
Good for you.
So I did-
Tell us about your story, and now I lay you
Yeah,
to
it's
sleep.
called Happy Now, Mother. I'm a World War I buff. I'm a history major, and I thing about World War I is, it's epic, but I really like the stories of the individual soldiers, and you hear all this patriotic crap, rah rah and all that stuff, but then you hear what the soldiers went through, and there should be no patriotic crap. It's real horror.
Yeah, sure is.
And this is actually the first really serious thing I've ever done. So, and it was totally different.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear this, yeah. Can you read a page for us?
I'll try. I'm not really good at reading.
That's all right. We aren't either. But
and-
we're good at listening, so
Oh,
go ahead.
take these out. Okay. Smith felt the heat. The BE-2 burned in the crater. The odor of roasted pork assailed his nostrils. He vomited again and ended with the dry heaves. His entire breakfast was now in the mud. No, no, please, then a dull thud. The Huns were on the other side of the crater, mopping up the fallen British troops, clearly not bothering to take prisoners. Fortunately for Smith, the smoke from the burning airplane hid him from them. But they'd be over his side of the crater pretty soon. Smith rolled over, face in the mud, dented helmet providing a small pocket of air. Something scraped along his forehead and blood dripped into his helmet. He tried not to breathe as the squelching of the German boots in the mud approached. They were here for him. Pain knifing through into Smith's side. They'd bayoneted him, bastards. He bit down on his tongue until it bled, not making a sound, not moving. Blood trickled down the inside of his shirt. The Hun seemed satisfied with the work and moved on. Smith passed out again. Daddy, help, it hurts. The bedroom door burst open and Daddy ran into the bed. What is it, Willie? My side, Daddy, it's burning and it hurts so much. And the Germans are gonna get me. They're killing everyone. Let me see. Willie rolled onto his side and Daddy lifted his pajama jacket. I don't see anything, Willie. Does this hurt? Willie felt Daddy's hands touch his skin and then he screamed. Through the tears, he stared up at Daddy. It might be your appendix, Willie. I'll go get the doctor. Mother stood at the bedroom door. More whining? What is it this time? It might be his appendix, Mary. I'm going for Dr. Glover. While I'm gone, sit with Willie. Get him some laudanum. Just a drip to ease the pain. I shouldn't be but half an hour. Daddy rushed from the room. The front door slammed. But the Germans, Willie said. Mother stared down at Willie. Without a word, she turned and left, slamming the bedroom door behind her. Drenched in sweat, Willie lay in the dark waiting. Daddy would save him. A wave of pain shot across his belly. He held in his cry, then lost consciousness.
Jeez. Yeah, there's so many stories that I hear these authors read, I just want to keep going, Can't wait to read the rest of it.
Yeah, it was weird reading because it flips back and forth between a soldier and a little boy.
I kind of get
And
that. Yeah.
I wasn't sure who was real until the end when I realized that who the real person was.
And
When
we
you
don't,
figured it
spoiler alert, don't tell us.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Buy the anthology, you're gonna make a contribution to the Jimmy Fund and get
Yeah.
to find out who's real and who's not.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, John.
Oh, pleasure being here.
Oh,
That's-
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Yes. And we
Thank
will
you.
be back in a few seconds. We're here with Charlie
Colliot.
Colliot. Okay, see, I'm terrible with names, and if you hadn't have said it, I know I would have butchered it. So welcome to the Taco Society Presents, and welcome to the interviews for the Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep anthology.
Thank you very much.
No, I should have been saying this to everyone here. The thank you should be coming from us to you for contributing your time, your work, and donating all proceeds to the Jimmy Fund. We can't express our appreciation for everybody. It really is a team effort, and everyone who's read, you're like, I can't wait to read more. I can't wait to read more. Yeah,
The stories are that good.
It's that good, and you fit right in, sir.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be part
Tell
of
us
it.
who Charlie is. I don't know you, Charlie.
Yeah, well, I write horror, obviously, some dark fantasy, and also some mystery. I'm probably, if I'm known at all by anybody, it's probably for the mystery stuff, really.
So you got a lot of mystery stuff published.
Yeah, there's, I have a series that's all about one, detective kind of. So there's 4 of those out.
Does it have a title? Does it call
Yeah, they're called the Randall Lee Mysteries. The first one is called Changes. It's
Okay.
about an acupuncturist turned very bumbling detective.
Oh, so it's a comedic type?
Kind of,
law,
yeah.
okay.
Comedic, martial art, mystery, romance.
Boy, you're really
Trying to-
underselling this. You gotta push
Yeah.
this thing, man. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Well, you just touched on this, but later this weekend, you're going to be on a panel that is about how studying martial arts influences and affects both
Yeah.
content and process of writing.
Yeah.
In fact, you're moderating that panel. So, want to give us a sneak preview of that in 15 seconds or less? Any thoughts on that? You just mentioned what martial art do you study?
Well, I've studied a bunch over the years, but the one I've stuck with the longest is actually Tai Chi, which a lot of people don't think is a martial art. They just picture kind of people moving real slow in the park kind of thing. And so yeah, it'll be interesting because well, especially with that panel, I think everybody's from such diverse kind of backgrounds, and
That was not done by accident.
yeah, yeah. So I'm looking forward to that as well. I'm going to see what people have to say. So.
Let's talk about the anthology and your story in it.
One of my favorite titles in the entire anthology.
Yeah, it's called Inertia Creeps, which was not the original name. I could not figure out really what to call it, and that there was a song called Inertia Creeps by Massive Attack that came on, and I was like, hey, that works.
Did you have the story already written?
Yeah, I had already written the story, and I just sometimes titles just completely elude me, so that was how that happened. Always look at music if you can figure out
What's the
anything.
story about?
It is about a terrible thing that happens at a rest stop.
Rest stop. Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
How about reading some for us?
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so she's been like this for hours now, and I don't know what to do. Anna Thompson, she used to sit across from me in Professor Winding's lit theory class. Used to be so vibrant, so animated, so opinionated in defending her positions. I wanted to be like her, confident and together. Together was what she was, organized. She always looked flawless, pretty, stylish, always had her thoughts and her work in order. Not like me at all. And the years haven't changed that. When I saw her at the rest stop and I knew something was wrong. I had to kick a week's worth of Starbucks cups out of the floorboard so she'd have someplace to put her feet. Her poor, battered feet. I spotted her out by the tree line, limping, shambling really, back up to the rest stop lot. The rain was coming down by this point, and she was just drenched to the bone. I didn't even think. I immediately jumped out to help her. It was Anna. We used to go out for drinks after study group. I wasn't going to leave her there. Terrible things raced through my mind as I ran down the hill to meet her, the possibilities of what had happened to her. Physically, though, she seemed okay, mostly. It was her eyes that worried me, though. There was nothing there behind her eyes. Shock. It had to be shock. So yeah, I got her back up the hill and into my car. I cranked the heater to get her warm, and I braved the downpour one more time to dig around in my trunk for the beach towels that I knew had to still be in there somewhere. Once I found them, crumpled and sandy but still smelling vaguely of detergent and not mildew, thankfully, after all these months, I tucked them into my jacket and ran back to wrap them around her shivering shoulders. She just stared at me with those lost, empty eyes. I don't know if she even saw me, really.
Wow.
Terrific.
Thank you very
Great
much.
stuff.
That's great.
Thank you.
We've got Kara.
Yeah,
Relationship?
that is my wife, and this is her very first story. So.
Isn't that something, huh?
Yeah, it's
Jeez.
very exciting.
Okay. Well, we'll be.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I had a plan for what to say to her when she's in this chair, and I'm not going to let you spoil it. So
Okay.
All right.
I'm not going to waste it on you.
All right.
I'm saving it for her.
Excellent.
We'll be back. We're back. This is if everything's going correctly, this will be the second show, the start of the second show of our NECON special presentation. Everything is special today.
Our second cold open, so I should be an old pro at this by now.
You should be. I'm here with Matt Bechtel, who's filling in for Phil and Sid because we are on location in Bristol, Rhode Island.
Portsmouth technically, but whatever, right? Bristol, Portsmouth, they're right on top of each
Right
other.
on top of each other. And
Yes, we are at the Bay Point Inn and Convention Center just off the campus of Roger Williams University at NECON 37. And we are celebrating Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, the NECON eBooks charity anthology benefiting the Jimmy Fund, which supports Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. That's their pediatric cancer research.
You are amazing. They don't
Like I
even
said,
need me. I'm out of here.
I stumbled through the first cold open. I came and I was like, okay, that's how you. I've been listening to you for the last hour and a half do these.
Oh, well, you've certainly become a pro at it.
I'll wait until I get to interview you.
I'm really I forgot we do have to do that, don't we?
Yes, we do.
But now we're going to interview Gam Pescatelli.
Cut.
Bepco.
Cut.
Huh?
Bepco.
Bepco.
Okay, now, your full name?
Dongjai Gam.
Dongjai Gam Bepco.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
right.
please go by
Yes.
Gam.
Why didn't I read this? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're more than happy to have you. In fact, you're a friend of the show also because NECON,
Yes.
you were at NECON and you read there and you're going to read for us tonight.
Yes, I am.
Yes. And how you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
And you're celebrating a special event. Your boyfriend's here
Yes,
And-
he's here off camera.
off camera, and he is Ed Kurtz.
Mm-hmm.
Another author, another
Another-
well-known name in speculative
Author
fiction.
of The Rib from Which I Remake the World. Excellent book.
Yes.
There's no bias here whatsoever.
Okay, but let's talk. Well, let's talk about you.
Okay.
And if you've watched part one, and you should have, when we had Laura Hickman and Trish Kasich, the editors, on, we talked a bit about the blind read process and how they judged everything without knowing who wrote them. Well, then when there was, I had the fun of doing the big reveal, and Laura found out that your story was one of the ones that they had voted in. She was very excited about it, and I said, I honestly can't believe you didn't know immediately, because GAM has a tell. All of your titles, lowercase letters.
Yeah.
Always. Why, and where did that come from?
I don't know. I just like the
heard it
informality
here
of
first.
it. There's no real reason, just informality. That's all. And
Okay.
I mean, I usually do my name in all lowercase, and my Facebook posts tend to be all lowercase, and it's
It's your mark. It's your brand.
and I'm also maybe a little lazy.
Yeah, hitting that shift key is so tough.
It's so
sometimes.
hard sometimes.
Tell us a little bit about your story, and can you read a little bit for us?
Yeah, my story is called Blood Cold Like Ice. It's, I guess you could call it a story about domestic violence seen through the eyes of a child. And I don't really know how much more I want to say
don't
without
spoil
giving
it.
everything away.
So dive in,
Okay.
please.
All right. And they're at it again, and I can't take it anymore. I can tell how much my dad drank at the bar by how hard the doors tremble when he screams at Mom. Tonight, between my misaligned bedroom door and the sliding closet doors shaking in their frames, it sounds like an orchestra of amateur drummers competing to see who can be the loudest. Dad's howling suggests that this is going to be another sleepless night. I wonder what my poor mom did now to earn this level of wrath. Did she forget to mail the mortgage payment? Did she leave a bone in the chicken soup again? Was there a wrinkle in his work uniform? Most would turn a blind eye to these mistakes, but not dear old Dad. He's moody enough when he's sober, but once he's hit the bar with his buddies, it's anyone's guess which Dad comes home. Loud Dad is expected, but quiet Dad is scary because you don't know what's simmering beneath the surface. Jovial Dad, which is rare, is not as great as it sounds because one wrong word will destroy his mood. Trust me when I say that you do not want to be that person who makes him unhappy. Some nights he comes home and goes right to sleep. Most nights I wish he didn't come home at all. Late nights on the weekends, broken knickknacks and muffled screams are far too common. Maybe the neighbors have learned to live with it because the police don't come around anymore. I used to hang out with the kids across the street, but they stopped talking to me about a year ago. Their mom gives me dirty looks whenever I see her, and I'm not sure what I did to deserve that. Something crashes against the hardwood floor downstairs. It sounds like another ceramic figurine. All this, and it's only Wednesday night. I feel like running away. All the adults say that it doesn't solve anything, but none of them have spent a night at my house. More items get thrown to the floor downstairs, followed by a sound I thought I would never hear. My mom fighting back with a fire in her voice that I didn't think existed. She beats him scream for scream, jab for jab. More stuff is being thrown, bouncing off of walls and shattering on the floor. There's a new note in my dad's voice, one of fear. I cringe when I hear his heavy footsteps below me in the kitchen. The back door creaks open and slams shut. When it happens again, I jump from the safety of my bed and peek out between the plastic blinds. An outdoor security light from a neighbor's house casts the barest illumination on our backyard. The trees at the edge of the property blend in with the night. The snow from the storm 2 nights ago lies untouched and dazzling. Parental voices, now on public display, are muted and guttural. Mom is starting to lose control of her voice, and I hear her utter 2 words that drift on the cold night air up to my window. I'm leaving.
Well, I tell you, that affected me like you wouldn't believe, just from the first words. I mean, oh.
Beautiful is a weird word to describe what you just read, but it's still somehow appropriate.
Thank you.
Very, very effective. Great work. Thank you very much for sharing that with us.
And thank you
for
for
having
being
me.
here.
Thank you for having me.
And come back on the show sometime.
Yes, I would love to.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Cam. And we'll be back in a minute. We're here with Jill Bauman. Welcome to the Taco Society Presents, and welcome to the episode of Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, the NECON anthology.
Thank you.
As I said with John McIlvaine, there are NECONers. We're all part of the NECON family, and then there are true pillars of the community.
Yes.
And you are a NECON pillar.
Thank you.
And for my money, the preeminent speculative fiction artist
Thank you.
of all the genre.
Thank you.
You set the bar.
Okay.
And you are a poet.
I write poetry as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your poem for the anthology, and then you're going to read it to us.
Yes, definitely going to do this. It was just very appropriate for this anthology because unfortunately we all have to deal with death and illness and unfortunately things like cancer. And I lost my son-in-law, my son-in-law at 46 years old. He passed away, leaving a 3.5-year-old. And there's just been so much of this that it's called angel tears. And I felt the angels were crying through this. And it was just something I was feeling. It's a means of expression. So I use the poetry for that. The art we make money with. The poetry is a whole thing. It's very private and personal, whereas the art is very commercial. So
I'll say in advance, thank you for sharing that with us. And by us, I mean the world.
well, I think what you're doing is so important. And if everybody just did a little bit, imagine what we would have. It doesn't take much, but together, it's everything.
Well said.
Yeah, so whatever. And of course, I'm honored to be a part of this. Read
Dying
it.
to hear
Would
this,
you
yes.
please?
Dying to hear
Okay.
it.
Angel tears. Out of darkness, demon appears. With angel crushed in wings embrace, tears roll down her cheeks, spilling from her eyes, silently drip into space. A lone cherub tastes the tears of salt, uplifted by their power. Without a thought, he fled as high. Demon snarl makes him cower. Voices boom from distant places, monstrous claws pull and grab. Evading talons, angel falls swiftly, landing on a cold rock slab. Badly bruised, wings torn and tattered, one loose feather spirals down. Twin rivers of tears flow down cherub's cheeks onto angel's silken gown. Demon feels a searing pain from innocent cherub tears. Now weakened and worn, energy dampened, the mighty now filled with fears. Falling and landing in the face of hell, swiftly the demon disposed. Cherub now cradled in the angel's white wings, sleeping, dreaming, reposed.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was very
Stunning.
good.
Thank you,
Yes.
thank you.
But I would expect nothing less from you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Well, thank you very much
Well,
for
thank
coming
you.
on camera with
Yes.
us
Oh,
and
well,
for
thank
contributing.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. And we will be back in a second with another guest. We're here with Bev Vincent.
Finally, a name you didn't have to ask how to pronounce.
No, and I've known Vince on and off for I've been coming here 8 years, I guess, and I've known you, and I've always been in awe of the guy. I really, honest to God, I consider him one of the smartest people at NECON. And I always say he, Hank Wagner, Jack, with just smart people. And I got to talk to him last night out in the courtyard for about a half an hour or so, and he just blew me away. I just was so entertained and so impressed.
That's what a drink or two will do. I've become
No,
much more
no.
entertaining.
Well, this is where I should make the smartest person at NECON is like valedictorian of night school joke. But the fact is, there are surprising number of smart people wandering this
Absolutely.
convention, and you do stand out.
Yeah. I wish we had time to go into everything he told me last night, but the man is remarkable. I'm just so thankful to get to know you a little bit better last night, and thank you for coming on the show for us for a few
My
minutes.
pleasure. And that was all in confidence last night. If I hear any of that outside of this NECON, you're dead man.
What happens at NECON stays.
Yeah, okay. Well, I still think you look good in those dresses, but I'm not going to say anything to anybody, okay?
Moving
Is
on.
this still running? No, okay.
Tell us about stealing his line. Tell us about your work, what you're working on now, what you've got in the fire, and then about your piece in the charity anthology.
Actually, because of NECON, last year I got a chance to talk to an editor who had expressed interest in my work a long time ago, actually around the first time I came to NECON in about 2005. And at that time, she had called me out of the blue because of a story that was in the Borderlands anthology, and she asked if I had a novel. And at that time, I didn't. But in the intervening years, I've written some, and so I got a chance to talk to her here last year, and we're sort of trying to develop the novel into something for publication.
Tremendous.
Good news, yeah.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about what you got in here.
Okay, so this is Truth or Dare. It's actually a story that I wrote about 15 years ago. It had been accepted for another publication, and the publication never appeared, so I took the rights back, and it seemed like something appropriate for this anthology. It's about mean teenagers, I guess I would say, and how cruel they can be to each other, but this time they maybe picked the wrong target. So let me read a little bit. Erica glanced at each of the others in turn, then repeated her survey of the group. Where to begin? Come on, Terry said, stretching the words into a whine. Erica gazed at the tattoo encircling Jack's right bicep, then moved on to Ben. She probed gently and almost gasped at the image that emerged. Narrowing her eyes to slits, she asked, Truth or dare? Truth, Ben shot back without hesitation, an unspoken challenge in his face. Where do you bury the bodies? Ben's face became a pale canvas for the lamp's undulating colors. What did you say? Erica kept her voice low and calm. I said, where do you keep the bodies? With the agility of a track star, Ben leapt to his feet, looming over the others. He pointed at Erica. We should never have invited her. She's crazy, just like I said. He swallowed. I don't know what you're talking about. Leave me alone. He stood like that for several seconds. When he realized the others were staring at him, he lowered his arm, turned, and fled toward the door. He fumbled with the knob before he managed to get it open. The door slammed shut behind him. Silence reverberated through the room as the others gaped. Erica closed her eyes and let the imperceptible sound of the bubbles undulating inside the lava lamp fill her mind. They brushed against each other like moist lips, she realized. When she snapped her eyes open, Jessica, Jack, Tim, Terry, and Rob were all looking at her. They had no choice. She drew them the way a Venus flytrap lures its victims. Gathered around her like supplicants at Mass, they flinched at her penetrating gaze, but couldn't look away. Energy bristled within her. She'd wanted them to like her, wanted to be part of their circle. Instead, they had ridiculed her. Now, the game was just getting started. Ben's out. It's still my turn, she said. What was that all about? Terry asked at last. What did you mean? Doesn't matter. It's my turn. The others sat in silence as she selected her next target.
I have to say again, we're getting such great readings. Just that your performance was spot on.
Thank you.
Just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It just makes me want to read it, you know, and you can't say anything better about a reading than somebody that cuts you off and says, no more. You know? But thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, absolutely.
A pleasure. And thank you again for contributing to the anthology.
Glad to be part of this great project.
Yeah, and someday we'd like to get you on the show for a full interview if you'd like.
Absolutely.
Great, thank
Absolutely.
you. All right, thank you very much, and we'll be back just in a few seconds. We're here with Gary Frank.
Another name you don't need to ask how to pronounce. 2 in a row. We're on a
Some are
roll.
pretty easy,
On a roll.
yeah. Gary's one of them. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
Yeah, we love having you, and I've known Gary from NECON from a couple of years anyways. How long have you been coming?
12 years.
Okay, so I've seen you for 8 of those 12, yeah. That sounds like it. And you, tell us a little bit about yourself. What have you written? I know I've read one of your books, but...
Sure. I have a couple of books from Medallion Press called Forever Will You Suffer and Institutional Memory.
That's the one I've read.
Those are the 2 that are out now. I'm currently working on tweaking a dark fantasy alternate history novel called Kingdom of the Pearl Dawn, where the Chinese settled in America in 1421 and the Europeans came much later and they meet. And the other thing I'm working on is a thriller about 5 survivors of an airplane crash who have no memory of what happened.
That sounds cool.
So that's, I try to do a little of everything, you know, try to spread out there.
Good for
And
you.
you've also always been very Lovecraftian influenced, correct? Or
I try not to, and it just crops up. It's the weirdest thing.
those are the subtle influences.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
just- And before you read, I would be remiss if we did not mention you are probably the benchmark for musicians here at NECON.
Oh, good grief. Yeah,
Um,
I'll take that.
no,
Oh, yeah.
a tremendous
Absolutely.
guitar player
Thank
and
you.
singer.
Thank you.
In the just to explain, in the evenings after all the panels are done and all the serious work gets done, we all sit outside and we have the libation of our choice and we sit around. Gary and a few other people bring their guitars and play songs and we all sing along with them. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Thank you, and I do look forward to that.
Sure, yeah, me too.
So tell us about the fine art of madness.
Fine Art of Madness. Man, I wrote this story probably a good 12, 15 years ago, and it just wasn't working. Something about the way the story was unfolding just didn't work, and I pulled it out again and kind of went with a more Lovecraftian feel, because originally it was not. I just fell into place. The whole use of technology, the whole video on the cell phone thing really worked well. The funny thing was there's a part in the story where I needed to resolve something and the answer just came to me. It was one of those amazing writerly moments where it's like I sat down and went, how am I going to fix this? Oh, that's how I'm going to fix it.
Those ones you live for that keep you coming back.
Yeah, yeah.
As the rest of it's pulling teeth.
Yes, exactly.
How about reading a page first?
I will be happy to do that. So, the fine art of madness. Dude, you gotta see this. Rich got in his car and handed me his iPad. It's all set. Just take a look and tell me what you think. He shut the door and started the Nissan Rogue. It's Amy. Your ex? Rich nodded. He hadn't mentioned his ex-wife in months and I thought they were done, but now this. She sent this to me. What? Just watch it. He backed the SUV out of his driveway. Where are we going? I asked, though I already knew Rich had pointed the car toward Amy's apartment. Just watch the whole thing. His hands were tight on the steering wheel. At first I thought it was still off as the screen was black, but then it suddenly came to life, revealing what looked like an artist studio. The floor was covered with heavy drop cloths, canvases were stacked by the dozens against walls, and fishing tackle boxes overflowed with tubes of squeezed paints. Brushes rested on easels and littered the floor like pickup sticks. I've had these dreams, Rich, a woman's voice said from off camera. Then Amy appeared, still with her ruffled dark blonde hair. She wore an open, oversized, long-sleeved button-down shirt covered with streaks of paint over a tight white tank top, also streaked with paints. She wasn't wearing a bra, and it was obviously chilly in the room. Her cotton pants were likewise streaked, as if she tornadoed her way through a rainbow and some of it stuck. Her hands and bare feet were sliced with colors as well. A city. It was huge and obsidian. She talked fast, as if she had to before the thought slipped out of her mind. It wasn't like any city I've seen. Cliché, right? She walked away from the camera to a 3x4-foot canvas covered with a royal blue fitted sheet. It was all crazy angles, though when I was there it looked perfectly natural. She glanced at the covered canvas. When I tried painting it, I couldn't get the angles right no matter what I tried. It didn't work. She pulled the sheet off, revealing what I first mistook to be a completely blank canvas. Crazy, right? Rich said. I stared at that canvas for a long time and even enlarged it so I could see detail. But there's nothing there. It's a black canvas. That's what it looks like. Maybe the detail is so fine for it's impossible to see from where Amy had the camera. I'll pause there.
Great imagery there.
tornadoed her way through a rainbow.
Yeah,
And some of it stuck.
Oh, it's, I'm envious of that turn of phrase. I wish I had come up with it.
thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
For being on the show and for contributing.
I am very excited to
Always
be
a
here.
pleasure.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much.
And look forward to seeing you later tonight.
Absolutely. Me
Listening
too.
to you.
Me too.
Yeah. We'll be back in a minute. Second. We're here with William Kyle. Did I say it right? I
Now,
have
do
a
you
problem
prefer,
with last names.
is it Bill or Skippy? For the record.
I've been called many things over the years,
Yeah.
but the book at William Carl looks better on
We're
the
going to
cover.
stick with William. Yeah, that's the author name. Again, welcome to the Taco Society Presents / Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep show. Tell us a little bit about yourself, so people that don't know who you are can get a little bit of background on you.
Okay. I'm a writer I started in Cincinnati, wrote 2 books there, and I'm a recent transplant to New England, so loving it so far.
Rhode Island, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Rhode Island.
Lives literally down the street from the chairperson of the convention.
Yes.
Okay.
I
That's,
can walk
that's
there.
not a joke.
No, I knew you moved here because I remember all your adventures of trying to find a place.
Oh, that was fun. 2
Yeah.
months in a hotel
Yeah.
and just struggling to find anything. And at the same time, at that point, I was putting on the final edits on Out of the Woods. So working on that.
So,
No, I was just, you just mentioned Out of the Woods.
That's
You
right.
know,
tell us a little
shameless
bit about
plug. This is what the camera's for.
That's the newest book that's out, is Out of the Woods from Postmortem Press. I also have one coming out at the very end of September, getting ready for Halloween, from them, called 3 Days Gone,
Oh,
which is
wow.
the beginning of a new series, kind of paranormal noir is what we're calling it, because it's a little different. So
That sounds cool. Yeah,
we'll see what
very good.
happens with it.
Tell us about your story in the anthology.
Oh, okay. My story's called Nightly Ritual, and it's kind of a riff on Proust's In Remembrance of Things Past. The beginning of that book is the young man in bed desperately waiting for his mother to come up and give him a goodnight kiss, and to a point where he works himself up into a state. It goes on forever. A lot of students hated it, but I was like gripped by that book. And so this is kind of a supernatural ghost story, old-fashioned ghost story take on it.
Before you even dive in, I have to say this is one of my favorite things about NECON. You talk to a horror writer who was inspired by Proust. Never expected to hear that in my life, and yet am somehow unsurprised to hear it here.
Why don't you read a page for us?
All right. I'm just going to start actually in part of the story. It's a man and a woman. They're in bed together. They're getting married, and she wants a story from him about his youth.
Okay.
Mom never let me go to bed without a goodnight kiss. All through the summer, I would go to bed, turn on a fan, and I would wait for her tread upon the stairs. That's how it always went, our little ritual. I'd hear her on the stairs, especially the 4th one, which creaked and moaned. She would enter my room without knocking, and she would pad across to my bed. I would pretend to be asleep, but I was really listening to her footsteps as she made her way to my bedside. I would count them. 1, 2, 3. It always took her the same number of steps. 7 steps to reach my bed, where she would lean down and plant a soft, warm kiss on my lips. That's when I would spring to life and growl like a tiger, hugging her and wishing her good night. Every night, it was exactly the same. The steps upstairs, with the extra creaking on the 4th stair, followed by my door slowly opening. She would take 7 soft steps to the bed, kiss my lips, and I would spring up upon her. It always made her laugh, and she would wish me a good night's rest and tell me that she loved me and would never let me go. Never.
So we know something bad's going to happen.
That's going to happen. Several bad things.
Several.
So.
Thank you very much for being part of the show. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, congratulations,
Thank
too.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Proud to be.
And we'll be back in a few seconds. We're at the most important part of our show here now, the special guest, the one that probably wraps everything up in a big, bright bow.
And if you have trouble pronouncing her last name, I'm going to throw fruit at you.
I'm going to ask her to say it because I'm not very good at this. If this gets cut into 2 shows, you'll be the last interview on the first show. So if not, ignore that first part. But
That's what editing's for.
that's what editing's for. Yes. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Kara?
And this is Kara Kaliat.
Charlie's,
Let's not bury the lead here. Thank you, Kara, for being here.
You're welcome.
And
Thank
just
you.
so happens, of course, to be the wife of the last author we just interviewed.
Yes.
Assuming they keep these things in the order that we're filming them. So,
I am a mom and a English teacher, and this is my first story that I've written.
What grade?
Middle school and high school.
Oh, wow, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, you look
Yes.
so good for a middle school, high school teacher.
Thank
Jeez,
you.
yeah. Wouldn't guess you're only 22, 23.
Well, it's a beauty secret.
so the wonders of Facebook. When we sent out the acceptance and rejection letters, your husband ran to Facebook and posted that he got the acceptance email and was flipped out and happy for all of 3 seconds, but then he realized that means Kara either got the good letter or the bad letter, and raced to check your email then and saw it and said his happiness spiked like exponentially.
That's
This wasn't
something,
just
that's
because,
something,
this is your first publication, and you get to share in the anthology with your husband.
And this is all done on talent. It's all blind.
And it was all
Yeah,
blind,
that's
so it's
fantastic.
just, sometimes good stuff just happens.
To good
and
people.
that's,
Thank
I'm really happy and thrilled. I'll put this politely because your daughters are in the room, to be your first. And
Thank you. I'm very honored to be in it.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and then read about a page from it if you
Okay.
would.
I actually got the idea for this story last year when we hit the beach before coming to NECON. And I saw all these little straws sticking up out of the sand.
Straws.
Straws, drinking straws. And they were just all over the place. And it made me start wondering, why would they be there? And who put them there and for why?
What a great premise.
Mhm.
Yeah, read. I got to hear this now.
I have always felt, The Beach by Kara Kalia. I have always felt the pull of the ocean. Since the very first time I stood on the beach, an unending expanse of sand and water overwhelmed one with a sense of mystery and danger. For most of the year, my husband Jim and I live landlocked in the middle of the country where it's dusty and the earth is parched much of the time. These conditions amplify my need to be at the water's edge and have become the driving force behind our yearly flight in July to the coast for one day, 2 if I'm lucky. I can't exactly explain it, but sometimes I really feel that our little trips are... I'm sorry, I didn't bring my glasses.
That's okay.
These are imperative to keeping my sanity. Sometimes it feels that like I am only ever able to truly breathe when I'm standing, full of awe, before the crashing waves. There is something magical when the hot, blinding sun burns away everything except sensation, and I can be reduced to the piercing cry of a seagull. The best part is when the tide pulls the sand from beneath my feet for a split second. I'm falling. With that feeling of falling, the chaos of everyday living, too, is carried away. There are dozens of families floating on the waves or resting on the sand, yet it is oddly still and quiet except for the sound of the surf and the occasional gull. After hours of playing dolphin in the waves with Jim, we retreat to our spot on the beach amongst the other sun worshippers. We collapse onto our blanket, our jelly legs succumbing to gravity now that we weren't being held up by the water. We lay back, silently communing with each other as we gaze at the sky and maybe doze in the sun for a little while until the call of the waves can no longer be ignored.
That's great. It does make me want to read more.
And as a long-time water baby myself, that I know I'm not the only person like you feels that pull of the ocean, of the beach. I think you hit a really universal chord with that.
What do you got coming up next? Anything or?
Another short story that I might make into a novel if I can.
Oh, jeez.
So it's not that short.
No. And it's not your run-of-the-mill zombie story. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, thank you very
You
much,
must want
Kara.
to more.
Thank you.
Kara.
And we
Thank
wish
you.
you all-
Congratulations, and
Yes.
Thank
yes,
you.
first of many.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
And we're just going to take another second here to thank our cameraman today. Thad Linson, an old friend, an old buddy, part of the Horror World gang. You can probably come across, oh, come on. Jeez.
Fourth wall! Fourth wall!
Well, we want to thank Thad for filming the first, at least the first segment. And we've got David Dowd who's going to take your place and film the second show for us. So thank you very much, Thad. And we'll be back, or at least I'll be back in a minute.